Do right now. Congressman, great to see you. What happens next?
Well, Neil, this committee is about uncovering and divulging to the American people the true breadth and scope of the impact that the Chinese Communist Party is having on the United States and the world. Our committee can't put forth legislation to pass it, but we can put forth ideas and draft legislation to get it to committees of jurisdiction, and that's exactly what we will do. This has to result in action, in legislation that passes the Congress. I think all of it will be bipartisan legislation.
As you pointed out, China's inserted itself in almost all aspects of American society, down to a lot of our real estate, a lot of our businesses. They're everywhere. Is it almost too late to at least easily extract us from that?
Well, it won't be easy, but we need to strategically isolate China. We need to make sure that we regulate their financial impact in markets that directly fund the CCP. Stop the sale of agricultural lands to the CCP. Stop the sale of critical lands around military bases to the CCP. Build our ability to counter the Chinese, and that's different than just blatantly, saying no to China. It's about making sure we counter the capacity that they are building. That takes effort. And Neil, we have to do it at the speed of relevance. We don't have the luxury of time. We've allowed them to catch up with this over the last 2 decades. This has to be an all-hands-on-deck call to get this done now. That's why legislation is so important. And that's why I think you saw yesterday a true bipartisan effort to raise the level of urgency on this matter.
You know, it's interesting, Congressman, as you're talking here, we're learning right now that China is no longer a top 3 investment destination for most U.S. companies. So something has changed there. And I'm wondering if companies that are entertaining doing business or expanding in China should be prohibited from doing so by the U.S. government. Many of your colleagues were talking about that. What do you think?
I think members of the Financial Services Committee like Andy Barr and others have talked about mechanisms to be able to limit those investments to make sure that we know that they're not going directly to fund the CCP. I think companies are starting to wake up to that, especially companies that have been bullied by the CCP to hand over intellectual property. I think they see it's not to their benefit to do that. I think, too, they're looking for the government to level the playing field to make sure there's a set of requirements for everyone in the investment realm to regulate how investments might go to the CCP and enhance the Chinese. Listen, I think if we don't do that, we are feeding the wolf that will eat us.
You know, Congressman, I'm just wondering, are you and your colleagues ready to prepare the American people for this economic war? Because, as you both sides pointed out last night, we're kind of in the middle of one. Whatever happens militarily, we hope nothing does happen militarily, but that it stands to hurt us a lot, as it presumably hurts China a lot. How do you position the American people for that?
Well, Neil, we have to, as we did last night, lay out to the American people what the threat is and what's necessary to make sure that the Chinese don't overtake the United States in the world economy. And when they do that, they will look to displace us. It's not just competition. It is them being our adversary. And we have to communicate to the American people that this is going to take some tough decisions. It is going to take some sacrifice. It's not going to all be an easy path. But I think if we communicate to the American people, I think they are ready to make that sacrifice, because they know if they don't, the outcome will not be good for the United States in the long run.
No, you're right about that, and you articulated it very well, Congressman. Rob Wittman, I want to thank you again.